Good morning, Linda.
Hi, Judy.
This is Linda Close, and I'm Judy Harrington. I am interviewing Linda for Art Aloud and also for my YouTube channel, where my book is and some other poetry. And now we're going to have this interview with Linda about her ZenTangle artwork and also some things about her life that contribute to her art. So she also is an instructor, and I'm going to start. Linda, if you'll tell us a little bit about yourself, how you made a living, for one thing, because I know that you had a profession and now you're retired from that and you're still doing all kinds of things with your art. So start wherever you like, and we'll come back around to it too.
Sure. So my professional life was in the nursing profession. I was a registered nurse, still am licensed actually in the state of Colorado. Started out in hospital care working with orthopedic patients, and then moved into the wellness nursery area and into finally to the intensive care nursery area, where I became a nurse practitioner there and worked a lot for helping those little ones survive and thrive. Most of them did really well. Occasionally was a sad experience, but it was definitely one of those career choices that I loved and adored, along with all the challenges. So that was my nursing career, and then I moved into some telephone triage nursing, which was still helping people find the health care that they needed, which was really kind of a interesting dynamic, just working with people on the telephone. And then I got into a lot of holistic questions and trainings. I was curious about health. How do we maintain our health as human beings? How do we become healthier people? How do we survive illnesses? That kind of thing. So I got into some meditation forms. I did a lot of chiropractic as an experience, so I could kind of transfer that experience into helping patients. I did Qigong, which has stuck with me for the last 30 years. So Qigong is a meditative exercise, and I can teach that and I can practice it. In fact, I practice it every day. It's wonderful just for basic health, mental health, physical health, emotional health. And that got me into wondering about art and how can you do art with that kind of meditation and not just putting a picture on a paper or making an image is. So I was introduced into ZenTangle, and I've been doing that now for about 8 years, and went through the program that this wonderful family-oriented company developed, which is now covering 80 countries, I believe, and 8,000 people certified to teach the ZenTangle method. And it's basically a way to draw, so to speak, but not actual drawing. What they call it is taking a pattern, deconstructing that pattern, and then being able to reconstruct it and put that pattern on a paper. It's a different way to use your brain, so you're not actually drawing. So that I think is what makes it available for anybody and everybody who can hold a pen and a piece of paper can do ZenTangle.
And what is the Zen component? Because that's the part that you really were interested in from your healing career, right?
Yes, exactly. The Zen part is when you can repeat a stroke with your pen over and over, it becomes very meditative. So some of the patterns are like that. You just repeat a particular stroke of your pen. The stroke can be in the ZenTangle method is there's 5 strokes. You can have a dot, a straight line, a C curve, an S curve, and an orb. So one of those strokes, and if you repeat it over and over, you do enter into a meditative state. And it makes it very relaxing, very calming. They're doing a lot of research right now through the ZenTangle Foundation to see the mental health benefits of this particular art form.
And then when you complete it, are all of the pieces the same, or is it really individual according to what strokes the person is using and the direction of the strokes, or how does it become an individual thing?
Yeah, it's kind of like the fingerprint thing. No two strokes are alike. No two handwritings are alike. So whenever you put a stroke down, say a straight line, and I put a straight line down, they're never the same. And so that's why you can have a pattern like the first pattern that is taught usually is called crescent moon. It's a pattern where you make the shape of a half moon shape and fill it in. And then what's called an aura, or you take your pen or pencil and you follow that line of your first stroke exactly. You follow that line maybe a millimeter apart from the one you initially started with. So you're going to do that aura as many times as you want to based on what you're trying to fill in on your piece of paper. And so you're going to do that in a way that you have to focus, for one thing. So it does take some focus. But if you're focused in doing that, then your mind isn't going to be wandering into other things.
So that kind of takes care of, or is an antidote to discursive thinking, where
Yes.
it pulls things together. And I have taken one class, and I'd like to do more. But one of the things I'm impressed with is the quality of the supplies. And I know there's that we used, and you provided those. Tell us about that quality.
Yeah. The owners that started the ZenTangle method is Rick and Maria. Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas, 21 now, years ago. They just celebrated last year the 20th anniversary of actually making this into a company and teaching it all over the first of all in the United States, and now it's all over the world. And so she is a professional calligrapher, and so she knew a lot about supplies, especially pens, obviously, and paper. And so when they started the company, they researched which papers and which inks and which pens would be the easiest for people to work with, and so it would be available to everybody. The idea was that they would start with small pieces of paper, which they call them tiles, because then they can put them together into a mosaic. The first tile was 3.5 by 3.5 inches. So it kind of takes a little bit of the fear of being an artist, quote unquote, of being an artist and putting pen to paper, which can be scary for a lot of people, people that don't think of themselves that way. And so they did a lot of research. The paper that they picked was Italian paper that's been around since, I believe, I should have looked that up. I think it's been around since 1400 or 1500. Long time.
Is it handmade then?
Yes, Fabriano paper. Tiapolo is the one particular paper from that company that they picked because of the quality. And as a calligrapher, Maria knew a lot about the paper qualities.
So it's a way, too, in my mind, of respecting what you do.
Yes.
Because if you do it on quality stock and you use quality ink and pens, there's a certain respect, to me, that comes with that. It's not just any old number 2 pencil that you pick up. You're honoring what you make.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they formed some beautiful relationships. That's how they have developed their company. They work with the Sakura company, They get to know the company really well and the people that work at those companies and become friends with those companies. And so I love that about that ZenTangle company too. I feel like they've grown to the point where it's available to thousands and thousands of people. At the same time, it's personal. It's very personal. So you get to know a lot about pens and inks and why one ink is different than another ink and why one paper is different than another paper. And they also encourage practice, playing around, try different papers, try different inks, see what you think.
And there's a real history with all of that comes along with it, I've noticed. And I'm left-handed, so I won't go into a lot about that, but I've had some problems with calligraphy when I did it, and I gave it up finally because I was always going across the wrong way and smudging it, and so I had to accommodate my left-handedness. And there are ways. You've told me places to look online because they do try to accommodate people with
Yes.
difficulties in working with their technique. And I have seen that there's a lot online too. If people really wanted to take a look and see what it is, there are places to
Yes.
find the information.
I like to encourage people to go to the source, of course.
Sure.
ZenTangle.com is a place where you can find the original works and how they started it. There's so much information, it's a little overwhelming. So you want to just pick something that interests you and start with that. Don't try to look at the whole website and take it all in at once. Unless you have that kind of a mind, then go for it. But otherwise, it's nice to just pick out, start here. They have a nice little place that says start here. So keep it simple at first and then let yourself expand. I look back at the tiles that I did when I started 8 years ago, and it's quite remarkable shift over time to see, because I wasn't a quote-unquote artist at all when I was doing this. But I just love putting ink or paint on a piece of paper. I mean, it's just, I think it's a kind of a natural instinct in humanity to want to make something. So,
Sure.
Yeah, it improves over time. So just start with that. But there's YouTubes. You can also find all kinds of teachers online as well. There's a lot of CZTs, we call them, Certified ZenTangle Teachers, CZTs online that do YouTubes. And there's other people that aren't CZTs that do YouTube. So it's pretty much becoming a common word that you can find on a Google search is the word ZenTangle. If you put that in there, you can find pretty much anything you want to start with.
And if somebody wants a personal experience with learning how to do ZenTangle, what kind of investment is there to begin with to get started?
Yeah,
with a class,
actually,
a basic class.
A basic class. Most people charge if you want to be in person. Some people actually do YouTube's or Zoom classes where you can pay to be on a Zoom if you don't want to travel to be in person. I like the in person. I prefer in person as much as I can for anything these days, but especially for this kind of work because being able to see how somebody is drawing on the paper in person and being with other people and seeing how they work in person, I think we learn a lot that way. I think there's a whole different experience than on a YouTube class or a Zoom online class. I do those. It's not that I don't. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying if you have a chance to do an in-person class, it's just so much more holistic, I guess is a good way to say that.
Sure. And you have a class coming up, do you, where you're teaching?
Yes. I've been doing once a month class for our local community in Palmer Lake and Monument area. And May 29th is the last Thursday in May. And I'll be doing it at the Monument Library. I think I have 8 people right now scheduled. I try to keep it to 12, which I like small groups as well, because then you can kind of get to know the people a little bit that you're working with. And then when you see what other people, when you take a tangle, which is the pattern that we're working with, it's called a tangle. When you take that tangle and see how other people have interpreted what you're telling them, it's amazing. It's just such a beautiful thing to see that we're all individuals at the same time, collective.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to me, just the little bit that I've done, that the art, the composition emerges rather than is determined, because each component of the ZenTangle experience adds up at the end to something recognizable.
Yes.
And so along the way, to me, it was fascinating because we do these little things, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the hour, there would be something more than what we put down on the page as we were instructed. So that, to me, is an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, it's like that's what I think makes ZenTangle method different than drawing, because usually with drawing, you have an image that you want to draw, right? I mean, usually you have an end result in mind. I want to draw a face. I want to draw a flower. I want to draw a landscape. I want to draw a building. You want to draw something, right? I mean, you have an idea of what you want to draw. ZenTangle is different in that way, that you start with simply a pattern, and then you can either continue with the same pattern and fill a 3x5 square tile, or larger. There's 5-inch square tiles. There's all kinds of papers you could use with different sizes to fill with one tangle. Or you can decide as you're going along, I think I want to add this other tangle. Let's say a paradox tangle or a cadence. There's names of these tangles. Each tangle has a name. So it's a creative process in that alone, that each tangle has a different name. And so you don't know for sure how you're going to end up when you start.
Yeah. Now, can somebody just drop in on your class, or do they need to commit to a number of classes? I just wonder if somebody who might be paying attention to our discussion might like to try it out. Can they just contact you and show up? Or how do you handle the class itself?
Yeah, I just need contacted because I do provide all supplies, and I use the supplies that are the original supplies from the ZenTangle company. I haven't varied from that because I appreciate the fact of the research that went into that. You can modify it a little bit, like we added the last class we added a little bit of watercolor, which is fun because of just we as human beings too, we enjoy color. We enjoy different colors, and so you can add color or you can keep it black and white. There's tan tiles, there's black tiles, there's white ink, different colored inks. We can vary it up, but I do need to know if you're coming. So I just need a response to either an email or a text message that you would like to attend that class. Right now the classes are $20, so it's reasonable. People can usually afford that for a 2-hour class. Supplies provided, and it's just a wonderful way to do something that doesn't require a screen. It's just you.
Or a blackboard.
Or
blackboard.
A blackboard.
Sure.
No, yeah, you could just have you. It's you in the room with some other people with a piece of paper and a pen or pens, and enjoying a process that creates some beautiful art.
Now, how should they get in touch with you? What's the best way if somebody wanted to take your class?
Yeah,
drop in or
I really can't do drop-ins. I just, because of the space that I have right now at the library is limited space, and so I really do need to have a heads up. So you can email me at my name, lindaclose@msn.com, LINDACLOSE @msn.com.
Okay. Well, that's great because you're going to be doing this. It's not
Yeah.
you're not ending it at the end of May. So
No, the summer. I'm debating about the summer for sure. I'm already scheduling classes for September, October, November, and then I don't do the holiday season. It's just too busy for people. I usually do February, March, and April. The summer, will be variable based on the interest in our local area at this point.
well, the last class that I took from you, we actually made some of the ZenTangle tiles into ornaments
Yes, yeah, we did.
for hanging on the tree, and I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah.
So, and as far as your own working with ZenTangle, is that something that you pick up when you need to? You feel a little bit tangled and you need a little zen? Or is it something that you have a regimen to do? Or how do you work it into your own life?
Oh yeah. Well, there's different ways that I use it, and one of them definitely is a good Zen time because if I'm getting a little feeling of overwhelm of tasks to be done, or things aren't going the way I like them to go, I can just take 5 minutes and just knowing that I have that pen and paper right there and just do 5 minutes of a tangle, really, and not try to make it into anything. It's just the fact of focused attention. If you're a good meditator already, you might not want to do it that way. You might want to just sit and be quiet, and that's fine too. But sometimes it's hard for me to sit and be quiet if my mind's going on to 20 different things that need to be done. And so I can sit and enjoy just putting ink to paper, calming. It's very calming for me to do that. And the other way I use it is to actually when I want a challenge, when I want to keep my brain active as I age, I love to have that challenge. So I will find there's thousands of ZenTangle patterns, thousands. And so it's easy to look one up that I've never done before. And it's called step outs. And so they give you, the person who developed the tangle will give you step outs. So it'll be step 1, step 2, step 3. There's usually not more than 6 step outs for each tangle. Occasionally they'll get a little carried away, but usually there's 3 to 4 step outs, which you have to focus. You have to really focus on where you're putting that pen from point A to point B and how that stroke is. Is it a curved stroke, a straight stroke, an S curve, a C curve? How is that stroke going and where's it going from this point to this point? And then when you connect into the second step, how are you connecting? It could get really a beautiful challenge to keep our brain going.
Mm. Now, it sounds like it's a lot different from doodling then.
Yeah, for me it is. Yeah. Some people will call it that, Zen doodle. But I don't approach it that way. I approach either the meditative aspect, which could be doodling. I mean, some people will doodle for that reason, but I actually follow a pattern, typically one that I know already, one that's easy for me to follow, and then I just kind of play around with which direction I want to take it and how I want to maybe add a little extra ink maybe, or we call shading when you add a little graphite and it makes it into a little 3D, which is a lot of fun, or highlighting, adding a little white ink or a white chalk also gives it that little bit of a dimensional appearance.
And what is your portfolio like now? Do you save all of these, right?
I do, yeah. I have too much. No, I have 2 3-inch 3-ring binders full of the tiles that are either 3.5, or there's a phi tile they call PHI, phi tile, which is a rectangular shape, and then there's the 5x5 tiles, 5-inch by 5-inch, and then there's Zendalas, which are the round plate-like shapes of paper that also take up a lot of space. They're a lot of fun too because it's almost like doing a mandala. That's why they call it Zendala. So that's another option for people that enjoy that circular shape versus the rectangulars or the squares. But I have those along with big pieces. I have several big pieces. They have one of the Fabriano Tiepolo papers that's in what they call opus tiles, and I think it's 7.5 by 7.5 inches. Or, yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that was the size of that one, or 8.5 by 8.5 inches. They're much bigger. So if you want to start with the small papers, it's nice. But if you're used to working in larger sizes, you can start with bigger pieces as well. But yeah, I have a lot. Yeah, I don't know how. I wish I had numbers to give you, Judy, but
well, I get the idea.
It's a lot.
I've seen what you have, and it is a lot.
There's a lot.
It's a lot. Now, where can somebody go to look at your work right now?
Oh, it would be in a class. Yeah.
Okay.
I have one piece I did with you, Judy, the Art Aloud,
Right.
this year in Colorado Springs, and I had a piece that's still hanging at the Rico's Cafe downtown Colorado Springs. There is a piece hanging there in the Rico's along the back wall.
And that's through the end of May.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I'll be taking that down on the 28th, I believe.
Okay. And that, because it was Art Aloud, my poetry that I wrote in response to your ZenTangle, which is, what's the size of it? The whole thing now?
That one is, what is that size? I think it's 12 by 12.
12 by 12 or 11 by 14 or something.
No. It's 16 by 16.
Okay.
It's 16 by 16 inches, yeah.
And the shape that it ended up anyway is a fan.
Yeah, it's a kind of actually it's almost like a mandala shape.
Okay.
That one that's hanging up.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
the other one is
the other
one
one is more like a fan. Yeah,
Yeah.
this one is more like a mandala shape. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A little oblong.
And it's very organic.
Very, yeah.
Things look like they're growing in there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, as it did. That's exactly how it took shape, because I started with an idea with one circle. I mean, that's how you do ZenTangle. You just start with one thing and then you grow it. And so I didn't know how it was going to end up at all.
Yeah. Well, it's impressive. I have written a poem to go with your work, and it is hanging with that ZenTangle of yours. And what do you have a name for that? Can't remember if you had a name for that.
I do. Let's see, that is, I had two different pieces. Let me think about it while you're going on, and I'll, if I think of it, I'll let you know.
Okay. I've been so impressed with what Linda does, and with her ZenTangle, and also with her poetry. And I wrote this poem as a response to both of her ZenTangles, the ones that we're talking about, the larger finished pieces. And this one is called Tanglement. And I'd like to read it. And then there are some things that I discovered just that I put into this poem that have to do with things that Linda and I had just had a conversation about over coffee one time. And if you'd like to talk about those too, that would be good when I'm finished with the poem. And there are so many things that are evoked by your work. And a lot of it has to do with ancient structures. And, I'll read the poem. Tanglement for Linda. Organic mysticism enthralled by form, tiled 2 by 2 with theories of string. Arcing quantum fields are captured by your pen. Phantom limbs stalk repetitious holograms. Spectral dimensions fill the empty cosmic plenum, scrolled, knotted into nodes. Nets unfurl to catch songbirds on the wing, as well as all of us, eventually released once our secrets are disclosed. How beautiful the anonymous grandmother, together with her lovely unknown daughter. First sepia portrait, white lace veils line the steps. Before the school became a parking lot and adoption was the rule. Gorgeous fractals line the shore of memory. Snowflakes appear, then fade and disappear. Solace of the human face escapes into abstract relief of patterned curve and shade. Prescribed by modern Hindu priests, their vespers whisper mandalas of rapture. Emphatic healing I thought was yours is mine. Who knew that yes was not the only option? Multiple dimensions, most sensitive in healing, carrying infant life, salvation's missionary, one by one, found children, all together, fragments coalesce like magic. In repetitious, unexpected visions, petals draw us up into huge galleries, complexities of wonder. Underwater sea, aqua-tinged abundance, down into opening folds, holding hands of fronds, seeds, leaves, ancient, heirloom, and unique. The singularity of growth, pinwheels up, across our eyes, breathless with delight. All technique, practiced meditation, focused vibration, emerges deepest exploration, carved and shaded, finest ink into finest paper. Portfolio takes flight.
I love it, Judy.
Well, I see so much in it, and I tend to look at, expansive things that I see in very small things that I enjoy, and that's the way I look at your work. It just sends me off into these little tangents of thinking about things in new ways. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about those children that you worked with? Because I included that here. Yeah.
So I noticed in the beginning part of the poem, I think you alluded to the fact that I was orphaned at the age of 5. I was in a orphanage for I don't really know how long. It's hard to recall all that, but that certainly takes what's a good word for that? I mean, it definitely influences the way one approaches life and relationships if you've been orphaned. And so I, at one point, had lost my father, my mother, and my sister. I did grow up with my brother and with my adopted parents, my father and mother, in a small town in Pennsylvania, which was probably a good thing for me in the long run. When you look back at things sometimes, as you age, you realize some of those things are beneficial. And then I got into my nursing career. I actually was a flight nurse for a while, where I would travel to some of the smaller hospitals in Colorado, where the infants that were born prematurely needed help, and they didn't have everything that they needed at the smaller hospitals, and so we would bring them back to our hospital in Colorado Springs. That was actually the first level 3 intensive care nursery in Colorado Springs, when I was a part of that. So I guess in my life, I kind of get involved in things when they're new, in the beginnings of things. So I've done that repeatedly in my life if I look back at my patterns. And I think, was that it? I don't remember if there's something else in there, Judy.
Well, it just that those currents from early life run deep.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it does influence how I see things and how I relate with people and how the choices that I make and that kind of thing. And I think that's the kind of thing that shows up in ZenTangle. I really do. I think a lot of those things are when you do meditation or qigong, when you do any kind of self-healing work, you can reveal to yourself hidden patterns. And ZenTangle's like that. You can find hidden patterns anywhere you
parallel.
go. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So that's probably why I fell in love with it.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, and I think it's important for people to see your work, because it's not just the little tiles. You've made these into larger pieces of art that somebody who's looking at it with a poetic eye like I did can really pick up on things that make you think outside the picture. And it gave me connections that I had no idea were even in my mind, except these are things that I've been studying, I've been reading, and so it's good to find a like spirit.
Yeah.
We're coming at things from different angles, but it's been a pleasure for me to write the poetry for you and with you, and also to take the class. And I think everybody should have have that experience to see what it is and to see how useful it can be.
Yeah. I think even just taking one class is enough. You don't have to do it over and over like I've done for 8 years. Just keep going and going. But even just one is enough that you could learn something about yourself, learn how to either focus more, relax more. I mean, it can be used for a lot of different things, and we could all use help these days with, I think, both focus and relaxation.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Now, on the 28th of June, we have reserved the Palmer Lake Town Hall and the Village Green, and we are doing it's a combination of open mic and Shakespeare readings, because we're taking the place of Shakespeare in the Park, which is on furlough this summer. And we're inviting people to come. We expect to be there from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m., and you'll be reading something probably from Shakespeare and maybe your own poetry as well. And I think you told me that you would do a little demo, too, of ZenTangle.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be really nice. It's a chance just to come. It's free. And then if you wanted to sign up, if anybody wanted to sign up with you, Linda, they could do it at that time for future reference. And I think it'll be a fun day.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people involved. We have some music, and we'll have a food truck, which actually is a drink truck, all fresh and yummy things. And plus, we have things developing in Palmer Lake, which are takeout instead of a restaurant, so you can get it and go sit by the lake, or in our case, come and sit on the green and eat your lunch. And so we have a big day planned, a nice day. And Linda will be there, I will be there, and look forward to seeing you. I'm going to do a little poetry workshop too, a little tiny one, probably in connection with the ZenTangle that you're doing that day. And come bring your poetry, bring things that you want to read, because we'll give everybody a chance in the open mic format once we have the scheduled Shakespeare performers.
It'll be a lot of fun.
It should be.
Yeah.
It will be a lot of fun. So we'll hope to see you in Palmer Lake at Town Hall on June 28th. Thank you very much, Linda.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Judy.
it. It's been really good talking to you and revisiting ZenTangle and my reaction to it. I always have new reactions. I could write another poem right now.
Good.
Just from this. It's an interactive experience for me anymore. I'm finding it really helps to collaborate.
Yes.
Yeah. Art and poetry. So, I think we're done. He left us. No, I'm here. Oh, he's here.